If you're tired of juggling a dozen AI prompts just to get mediocre results, this changed everything for me. I built one single prompt that adapts to any business problem I had. It could be marketing, it could be strategy, operations, finance, customer research. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how it works, why it works, and how to customize it for whatever challenge you are facing. This is the only AI prompt you'll need right now as a founder because it actually thinks like one. So what are we trying to accomplish here? We are trying to make sure that you have one prompt to rule them all. And the way that I did this is ask myself, well, what would happen if I had an entire executive team at my fingertips and I could just ask them anything right inside of ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using. I'm going to be using ChatGPT here, but this works regardless of what AI you're using. And the question that I was having was like, I couldn't always get the talent that I wanted on tap. Even if I had somebody who was in a position, they might not be the kind of person I could spitball with at 2 a.m. when I had some kind of crazy idea. And so I wanted to get the leverage of the best thinking of the best people to do the job for a particular task. So I thought, what if I could create a prompt? And this would be the prompt that would essentially construct my executive team and allow me to get that power in ChatGPT instead of trying to hire all of these people. And if I needed to hire someone, I could work with ChatGPT on who that person would be. And I could decide, is the person best for that role? Or can I keep on working just with the AI on that? So this is the structure that I use for it. So what you're going to see here, you can think of it like a company in a box. I'm going to give you one prompt, and that's going to help ask 8 questions. And those 8 questions are going to be things that help you assemble this executive team. And then we're going to go on and actually make prompts for each one of your executives. And then we can ask them questions. And so I'm going to walk you through the entire demo right here. Now, as you can see on my screen, I'm using ChatGPT, and I'm using a function called ChatGPT Projects, where I can store a lot of things together. Now, you can still do all of this on the free version of ChatGPT. Depending on when you're watching this video, different versions of different models are going to be available. I'm going to use ChatGPT 03. It doesn't matter. You can use Claude, you can use DeepSeek, you can use any other AI. It is the same concept. I'm just going to use it in this project because if you have the paid version, it is actually great to be able to organize things. I have one here called Executive Roundtable. Now, just as an aside, I have also got one that's my health coach. I've got one for each company that I own. In each case, you can keep all of the files regarding those conversations together. But I'm going to show you how to do this one. So first, I'm going to start with the entrepreneur company in a box prompt. And I'm just going to copy it from magic window somewhere else, and I'm going to paste it in here. It says role. And so I'm telling the AI what role it is. You are a CEO onboarding assistant. Your mandate is to build a company brief and then recommend the first virtual executives the founder should hire in ChatGPT. And so how it's going to work is a process where it's going to ask me some questions. And then when I answer everything, it'll assemble the company brief. In other words, we're telling the AI in all future conversations, what does my company do? And then it's going to list what the recommended roles are. So this is a long prompt here. You can get a copy of it by going to ceoworkbench.com, and it is available for free there. You can use that in order to get this working yourself. I'm going to paste that in here, and then I'm going to answer the questions. So I'm just going to go here and hit go. And then it's going to come back with some questions. Okay. And it says questions for the founder, company name, 1-sentence mission, vision, product, services. So I'm going to answer all of these questions. So I just took Willy Wonka's chocolate company and I answered the questions as if this was Willy Wonka's chocolate company. Company name is Wonka Industries. The mission is to deliver magical confections that spark childlike wonder every day. And the vision is a world where joy is as common as chocolate. And so I've just answered all these questions here as if I were the Wonka company. All right, here are my products and services. Here's my annual revenue. Oh, there's a lot of money in chocolate, huh? And remember, this is just an example. You could be making $0 as your annual revenue, and that's fine. It's not going to recommend that you have to go and hire a bunch of executives. The whole point is that your executive team on a virtual basis is being constructed here. Year-over-year growth, 12%. Biggest financial pain is volatile cocoa prices and occasional safety fines from experimental product mishaps. So I'm just going to answer all these questions, and then I'm going to hit go. So while it's thinking, why are these things important? We are giving the AI the context to build a company brief because the executives that you're going to need for this virtual executive team are going to be based on where you are and the stage of growth that you are, the challenges that you're facing, etc. This is not extremely detailed. What I will often do is use dictation, and I will dictate and just talk for like 20 minutes and get this massive wall of text and just paste it in there. This is just an example, but when I'm doing it, typically I will give it as much information as I can. I might cut and paste in here financial information. I'll cut and paste in here marketing campaigns you tried, as much information, because the more information that it has, the better it's going to be able to really understand your company. But what we're going to do is just use this as an example. So it's created a company brief here, company name, mission, core values. So it's taken all the things from the questions that I answered and put it into here. Business snapshot, product and services, customer segments, current metrics. So it's got your trends and things like that. Any information you're given. If you've got a startup, it'll just, say what those are. So, it correctly flagged that a 12% year-over-year growth, strategic objectives. And so what I'm going to do right now is take this and recommended roles. So here are the recommended roles, and I'm going to show you how to create these virtual executives. But what I'm going to do with this company brief here is I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to put it in a file that you can't see off to the side, and then I'm going to come back here in a second and show you what to do with it. Okay, I've pasted that into another document. So I have this, so I just hit that copy button. I've pasted this into another document. I'm going to do two things. Number one, I'm going to go back to Executive Roundtable here, get that company brief, and I'm going to add to the files here. Now, you don't have to do this. This is an optional step, and everything I'm going to show you after this does not require that you have projects. But since I'm going to be using this Executive Roundtable again, I'm going to click Add Files, and I'm just going to put the company brief in here, and there it is. Okay, so now it has one file, it's company brief. So now every time I'm chatting with my executive team, it's going to remember the company brief. And if I ever update something, like let's say it's next quarter and I've updated the sales figure or something, I'll go in and I'll put in a new version of the project files. Or if I'm having my executives that we're going to create in the next step talk about something and I'm chatting with both of them, I want them to all have the same information. So that being in the project files, I can say, refer to the financials from last quarter in my project files. And then each one of them will have access to the same thing. It's just a very convenient way of doing it. But you don't have to do this if you don't have the pro version of ChatGPT. I'll show you what to do next. So what we have now is we've got the company brief. So now the AI is going to know about your company. Now the question is, what's it going to do with that information? So now we need to have a recommended roles list, and we actually make that real. So if we went back on here, you saw that it recommended these particular roles. So let's actually make those roles. So we go back here to the project. Before we move on to how to get these AI executives to work together, if you want your marketing to take off like a rocket, I've got a secret for you. Imagine being able to know if your ads will work before you spent any money. I created Atomized, where you can have thousands of AIs simulate your customers exactly, and they'll tell you if an ad will work before you spend a dime on advertising. The link's at the top of the description, so make sure to check that out. Okay, so now let's say one of the executives that recommended to me is the VP of Marketing. I'll want to make a VP of Marketing, my AI VP of Marketing. So I have a prompt here, which is for a particular executive. It says you are, when you get this prompt, which is, again, it's at ceoworkbench.com. It is for free. You can download it there. The link is in the description of this video. But it says you are this role, and we're doing a VP of Marketing now, at company name, and that is the company name, and your mandate is this thing, and then here is the company brief that you're going to paste it in here. And that's why I'm saying that you don't need to upload into the project. You can just paste that in here, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you are VP of Marketing. You're generate qualified pipeline and grow brand authority for Wonka's chocolates. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my company brief. So I'm just going to paste it in here. Okay, perfect. And there's the company brief. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to hit go. It's going to now make me a VP of Marketing. Okay, it's back. And so what has it done? It's created my marketing expert here. And I'm going to just rename this guy VP Marketing. All right, so now what I've done in here is, let's see what it says. Top priorities next 7 days. Finalize Everlasting Light, which was one of the products in Wonka's. Go to market brief. Positioning, pricing, product launch timeline. Circulate your feedback. Lock the channel budget and creative tests to bring the nostalgia adult CAC, that's the customer acquisition cost, to under $12. Refresh paid social, tighten retargeting, launch the YouTube bumper. So all of this is based on stuff that it has divined from the initial company brief that you gave it. Now, obviously, I didn't do the most extensive brief, so it might be making up things that are a little bit irrelevant, and that's normal. So what you might do is say things like, we are not running YouTube, we only run Facebook ads. Update the strategy. Also, let's pretend that I didn't understand something. Can you explain to me what CAC is? So let's pretend I didn't know what CAC was, and I didn't know what was customer acquisition cost. While it's thinking about that, we're going to go over here, and it suggested some key metrics and some blockers. Safety incident coverage. We mentioned that they're having some safety issues with some products that have unintended side effects, like you do in the Willy Wonka movie and book. That might suppress the net promoter score. In other words, people are not going to rate it as highly. It might increase CAC, increase the cost of customer acquisition. But I can go back and forth, and regardless of what you don't know as a CEO, you can find out by just asking, and there's no harm in asking, and it doesn't really cost anything to ask. Okay, so it redid this here, and instead of YouTube, okay, so it's targeting audiences, 15-second video variants for feeds and reels. Okay, so it's given me a new strategy. You can revise it more if you like. All right, so I've created one of my executives. Now let's go and create another one, and then we can go back and forth. Okay, the next one, we're going to create our chief financial officer for Wonka. And then we're going to go here and here, and then I'm going to insert the company brief in there. And we're going to have, you are a chief financial officer. Your mandate is these things. It's going to have the company brief in here. Again, the cut and paste stuff is at ceoworkbench.com. And you go here. Okay, here comes our CFO, and it's got the top priorities for the next 7 days, which is pretty awesome. Rainbow Sugar Hedge strategy. So again, using the products named here, unrestricted cash on hand, this much runway. Again, if you give it more information, it's going to be able to give you better information. So let's say this was not exactly correct. You would just correct it and say, actually, cash on hand is $38 million, and then it will give the status. So these key metrics are the things that you should be watching. Now I can do what's really interesting. I have a partial executive team. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back. I'm going to rename this as CFO, Chief Financial Officer, and I'm going to go to VP Marketing, approve a incremental budget for launching these ads. Okay, I need to approve it, but does this make sense? I'm going to ask my CFO. You know, here, VP Marketing says that, is this a good idea? Help me decide. So I'm asking my CFO, hey, the VP Marketing had this idea. Should I actually go ahead and do that? If, again, this was me doing it normally, I would dictate into the AI for maybe 5 minutes and really just go through all the thoughts in my head. The more you give it, the better. So this is just a very abbreviated example. You're going to see that it's kind of giving some really high level stuff. It's not terribly accurate because obviously this is Wonka's chocolate company. It's not a real company. Here's what it's doing. It's doing some analysis, cash position. So it's remembered that the runway was 42 million. That's 31 weeks, 250K tests, consumes less than 1% of cash, affordable but not trivial. Okay, right, because 250K, I could buy some employees, etc. Benchmarks are this, and now it looks like it's pulled this from some average data here. So if I had the actual CPCs that we were getting on Facebook, I could put that in there at 3% conversion rate. Expected customer acquisition cost is this range. That is 2x our $12 goal. Recommendation, approve conditionally, stage gate the spend. Okay, so I'm going to take that. I'm going to go back to I'm just taking what my CFO said. I'm going to go to the VP of Marketing. CFO says this, and it's going to think about it. And I can go back and forth like this. So there you have it, your own virtual executive team, and it costs you almost nothing. Now, why is this more valuable than what most people do, which is just this random collection of prompts? What's going to happen here, and this is really important, is you're going to have each one of these chats, and each one of these chats has its own memory. So the VP of Marketing is going to remember the last few things that you talked about. Same thing with the CFO. If you have customer service, if you have product, and each one of them is going to remember the context so that when you have a new business problem, you consult with them and you say, this is happening, what should I do? And then you can go back and forth, just like with real people who remember the last conversations that you had. When you just have this jumbled collection of prompts, the AI is starting new each time. It is hard to get it to actually remember all the things in context. And even with some of the new features that they have, where ChatGPT or whether Anthropic, and they can remember some things in the past. Sometimes if you're like me, you're jumbling it up with things that you're just thinking about doing and things that you're actually doing. And you got some personal stuff in there and you got some work stuff in there. So it kind of jumbles up the context, but here it's really clean. The company brief is the company brief. That's the strategy. That's what you're going for. And you have specialized consultants that are going to get smarter over time. And I have one last caution for you. This is not magic. So the first time you do it, they might be like, getting some of the numbers wrong. They might be getting some of the strategy wrong. But isn't that the same thing that would happen if you hired a real person? They don't really know your company. It takes them a little while to get up to speed. So if you try this the first time and it makes something up that isn't quite exactly right, or it doesn't really how you do your business, that's okay. You just educate it more on what it is. You use the trick that I use about just dictating in there for a long period of time, and very quickly it'll get trained. You can train up your entire executive team in a matter of a couple of days, which is far faster than you could if you hired real people to do this. Now, I don't think that this replaces having real experts in your business over time, but it is a way to move really, really fast. What I will often do is use this kind of strategy to validate an idea that I think might be a good idea, but instead of chewing up the team's time, I'm validating it with my virtual team and really crystallizing what is the strategy that I'm going for here? What are the pros? What are the cons? So I can come to my team with something that is not just a half-baked idea that makes their head explode. Instead, I'm coming to them, here's the plan. Here's why it's going to work, I believe. Now, challenge me on that. So this is the way to have one prompt to rule them all and get the benefit of not having to hire a full executive team before you need to. You can download these prompts at ceoworkbench.com. Link is also below. So now that you've got the most powerful and flexible prompt in your toolkit, but remember, prompting is just a tool. If you want to see how to turn strategy into serious revenue, the next step is this. I made $10 million using a very specific system, and I break it all down in the next video. It's on the screen now. Click on it, and I'll show you exactly how to use it.